Hare Krishna. Please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Guru Maharaj and Srila Prabhupada.
Oh, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Linda
Thank you,
Mataji.
Father. Jesus. Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, just one moment. I have to go get some Kleenex. Okay. Leela Manjari Mataji, are you on the call too? It's hard to know if she's just recording or if she's actually on the call.
I don't know.
Ah, Hare Krishna, Rohini Mataji.
Hare Krishna, Mataji, please accept my humble obeisance. All glory, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Guru Maharaj ki jai. Mataji, how are you?
Yes, all glories to Guru Maharaj and Srila Prabhupada.
Yes.
I'm doing well, Mataji. How are you doing?
Oh, Mataji. Okay.
Okay. Just okay, huh?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, considering what's going on, yeah, I can understand that.
Yeah.
How
How are you, Mataji? Is good, everything?
everything is, yeah, everything is fine. Thank you.
Good evening.
I think, Linda Mataji, were you saying something?
Just a word of encouragement, just like turn to your Bible, and find rest and gladness, for God made many prophets, mainly Jesus Christ is the main one, and he brought a message of redemption and hope and instruction. So there's no reason to feel down. You have to
Not feeling down at all, Mataji.
talk to Jesus, talk to God, and feel his rest.
I'm not feeling down, Mataji.
Oh, okay.
I'm feeling just fine. Thank you very much. All right, so I think what we'll do is get started with the prayers and see who joins after that. Okay? Om Jnana Tinidasya Ganananjana Shalakaya Chakshuru Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Svayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Svapadantikam Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Sarasvatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Udirayat Nashta Prayashu Abhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtaki. Okay, Matajis, today we are reading from Canto 4, first part of Canto 4, Chapter 9, texts 18 through 23. So does anybody have a book who would like to do a little bit of reading?
Yes, Mataji, I can do. Hare Krishna. Please accept my humble obeisances.
Please accept mine too. All glories to Guru Maharaj and Srila Prabhupada. Nice to have you on the class today.
Yes, Mataji. So I am the one who is reading first today.
Yes, it doesn't matter. Sure, if you would like to, if you have your book, that would be lovely.
So you said 9th chapter, 18 verse, right?
Yes, text 18.
Okay, Mataji. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Text 18. Maitreya Uvacha Athabhistuta evam vai Satsankalpena dhimata Vrityanurakto Bhagavan Pratinandyedam Abravit. Translation and purport of His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Translation. The great sage Maitreya continued, My dear Vidura, when Dhruva Maharaja, who had good intentions in his heart, finished his prayer, the Supreme Lord, the personality of Godhead, who is very kind to his devotees and servants, congratulated him, speaking as follows. Thank you, Mataji.
You could do one more, please. Just
Okay.
one more.
Okay, Mataji. Text 19. Shri Bhagavan Uvacha Vedaham Devyavasthitam Hridi Rajanya Balaka Tat Prayachami Bhadram Te Durapam Apisuvrata. Translation. The personality of Godhead said, My dear Dhruva, son of the king, you have executed pious vows, and I also know the desire within your heart. Although your desire is very ambitious and very difficult to fulfill, I shall favor you with its fulfillment. All good fortune unto you. Purport. The Lord is so merciful to his devotee that he immediately said to Dhruva Maharaja, Let there be all good fortune for you. The fact is that Dhruva Maharaja was very much afraid in his mind, for he had aspired after material benefit in discharging his devotional service, and this was hampering him from reaching the stage of love of God. In the Bhagavad Gita 2.44, it is said, Bhogeshwarya Prasaktanam. Those who are addicted to material pleasure cannot be attracted to devotional service. It was true that at heart, Dhruva Maharaja wanted a kingdom that would be far better than Brahmaloka. This was a natural desire for a Kshatriya. He was also only 5 years old, and in his childish way, he desired to have a kingdom far greater than his father's grandfathers or great-grandfathers. His father, Uttanapada, was the son of Manu, and Manu was the son of Lord Brahma. Dhruva wanted to excel all these great family members. The Lord knew Dhruva Maharaja's childish ambition, but how was it possible to offer Dhruva a position more exalted than Lord Brahma's? The Lord assured Dhruva Maharaja that Dhruva would not be bereft of the Lord's love. He encouraged Dhruva not to be worried that he childishly had material desires and at the same time had the pure aspiration to be a great devotee. Generally, the Lord does not award a pure devotee material opulence even though he may desire it. But Dhruva Maharaja's case was different. The Lord knew that he was such a great devotee that in spite of having material opulence, he would never be deviated from love of God. This example illustrates that a highly qualified devotee can have the facility of material enjoyment and at the same time execute love of God. This, however, was a special case for Dhruva Maharaja. Thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Thank you very much, Lavanya Mataji. Does anybody else have a book that would like to read? I don't know if anybody else got on. Okay. I believe that Prema Rasa is with us now.
Hare
Well,
Krishna Mataji, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Guru Maharaj and Srila Prabhupada. Mataji, I will just hear today if that's okay.
Yes. Oh, that's
Yeah.
perfectly fine.
Thank you so much.
Hare Krishna. Please accept my humble obeisances too. All glories to Guru Maharaj and Srila Prabhupada. Okay, so we're doing texts 20 and 21. Nanyer adistitam badra yad brajishnu druvakshiti yatra graharshataranam jodisham chakram ahitam Medyam go chakravat stasnu parastat kalpavasinam dharmo agni kasyapaha shukro munayo yevana ukasaha charanti dakshini kritya brahmanto yatsattarakaha. Translations and purports by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Translation: The Supreme Personality of Godhead continued. My dear Dhruva, I shall award you the glowing planet known as the pole star, which will continue to exist even after the dissolution at the end of the millennium. No one has ever ruled this planet, which is surrounded by all the solar systems, planets, and stars. All the luminaries in the sky circumambulate this planet, just as bulls tread around a central pole for the purpose of crushing grains. Keeping the pole star to their right, all the stars inhabited by the great sages like Dharma, Agni, Kashyapa, and Shukra circumambulate this planet, which continues to exist even after the dissolution of all others. Purport: although the pole star existed before its occupation by Dhruva Maharaj, it had no predominating deity. Dhruva Loka, our pole star, is the center for all other stars and solar systems, for all of them circle around Dhruva Loka, just as a bull crushes grains by walking around and around a central pole. Dhruva wanted the best of all planets, and although it was a childish prayer, the Lord satisfied his demand. A small child may demand something from his father, which his father has never given to anyone else. Yet, out of affection, the father offers it to the child. Similarly, this unique planet, Dhruva Loka, was offered to Maharaj Dhruva. The specific significance of this planet is that until the entire universe is annihilated, this planet will remain, even during the devastation which takes place during the night of Lord Brahma. There are two kinds of dissolutions, one during the night of Lord Brahma and one at the end of Lord Brahma's life. At the end of Brahma's life, selected personalities go back home, back to Godhead. Dhruva Maharaj is one of them. The Lord assured Dhruva that he would exist beyond the partial dissolution of this universe. Thus, at the end of the complete dissolution, Dhruva Maharaj would go directly to Vaikuntha Lok, to a spiritual planet in the spiritual sky. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur comments in this connection that Dhruva Loka is one of the lokas like Svetadvip, Mathura, and Dwarka. They are all eternal places in the kingdom of Godhead, which is described in the Bhagavad Gita, Tad Dhamma Paramam, and in the Vedas, Om Tad Vishno Paramam Padam Sada Pashyanti Suraya. The words Parastat Kalpa Vasinam, transcendental to the planets inhabited after the dissolution, refer to the Vaikuntha planets. In other words, Dhruva Maharaj's promotion to the Vaikuntha Lokas was guaranteed by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Okay, text 22. Is anybody available that would like to finish this off, 22 and 23? I don't know if Manasi Ganga is in a position to read.
No, I'm just going to hear.
Okay, that's fine. I'll continue reading.
Shall I read, Mataji? If you.
Oh, if you would like, Lavanya Mataji, that's fine. Go right ahead.
Okay, thank you, Mataji. Pratishtite tu vanam pitra tattvagam dharma samsrayah Satrimsat Svarsha Sahasram Rakshitavya Hatendriyaha. Translation: After your father goes to the forest and awards you the rule of his kingdom, you will rule continuously the entire world for 36,000 years, and all your senses will continue to be as strong as they are now. You will never become old. Purport: In the Satya Yuga, people generally lived for 100,000 years. Dhruva Maharaja's ruling the world for 36,000 years was quite possible in those days. Text 23. Svadbhratare uttamenaste mrugyayam tu tanmanaha अन्वेषन्ति वनं माता davagnim sa praveksyati. Translation: The Lord continued, sometime in the future, your brother Uttama will go hunting in the forest, and while absorbed in hunting, he will be killed. Your stepmother Suruchi, being maddened upon the death of her son, will go to search him out in the forest, but she will be devoured by a forest fire. Purport: Dhruva Maharaja came to the forest to search out the Supreme Personality of Godhead with a revenging spirit against his stepmother. His stepmother had insulted Dhruva, who was not an ordinary person but a great Vaishnava. An offense at the lotus feet of a Vaishnava is the greatest offense in this world. Because of having insulted Dhruva Maharaja, Suruchi would become mad upon the death of her son and would enter a forest fire, and thus her life would be ended. This was specifically mentioned by the Lord to Dhruva because he was determined for revenge against her. From this, we should take the lesson that we should never try to insult a Vaishnava. Not only should we not insult a Vaishnava, but we should not insult anyone unnecessarily. When Suruchi insulted Dhruva Maharaja, he was just a child. She, of course, did not know that Dhruva was a great recognized Vaishnava, and so her offense was committed unknowingly. When one serves a Vaishnava unknowingly, one still gets the good result, and if one unknowingly insults a Vaishnava, one suffers the bad result. A Vaishnava is especially favored by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Pleasing him or displeasing him directly affects the pleasure and displeasure of the Supreme Lord. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakura, in his 8 stanzas of prayer to the spiritual master, has sung Yasya Prasadat Bhagavad Prasada. By pleasing the spiritual master, who is a pure Vaishnava, one pleases the personality of Godhead. But if one displeases the spiritual master, one does not know where he is going. Thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much for all your reading, Lavanya Mataji. Now, I'm going to go back to text 18. Okay. Now, basically, there's no purport there, so we're going to just go right into explanation of the text 19. So we learned that Dhruva Maharaj, he had material desires. Okay, he was a very great devotee, but at the same time, he had material desires, and so he became very frightened in his mind because he wanted some material benefit in executing his devotional service. And because of this, this would stop him from reaching the stage of love of God. Okay, he knew this, and he was very frightened. This is not like when we're talking about, let's say we still have material desires, but we're not asking for or aspiring for the Lord to give us these things through devotional service. We have to be careful with that because we may still be working on our anartas, anarta nivriti, and we may still have some material desires there as we are trying to reach the next stage, which I believe was nishta after anarta nivriti. But it's not the same thing when you start asking the Lord, Krishna himself, can you give me what he wanted was a great kingdom. Okay, he wanted to rule. His father's kingdom, and above that, he wanted to go all the way to the top. He wanted to have a position which was actually higher than Lord Brahma. Okay, and so even if we still have some of these hankerings within, we know they're there, but we try not to focus on this. Okay, now we have to remember that Dhruva Maharaj was just a child. He was a 5-year-old boy, and so it was natural. This was natural in his way, and he was still a child, and so he wanted to have a kingdom better than his fathers, grandfathers, or great grandfathers. So the Lord, who is just so merciful, he wanted to please. He wanted to grant the desire of Dhruva Maharaj, because he knew who Dhruva Maharaj was, okay? And he knew that he was not going to leave the Lord if the Lord granted him some material desire, okay? And this particular desire, we as devotees ourselves, we wouldn't normally, at least I don't think, would ask the Lord for something like this. I know that, if I am having distress, I don't go directly to Krishna with certain prayers. And certain things are good, in relieving these anarthas, maybe in praying to our Guru Maharajas, praying to them, praying to Srila Prabhupada. This is acceptable at that point. And usually, like for myself, I pray for to help people around me as well as myself, for myself to become a better person, to become a better devotee, and those types of those are the types of things, or help me, if I'm going to be in distress, please help me to tolerate this distress instead of, just make everything okay, So in this, Dhruva Maharaj being a child, he had these childish ambitions. And the Lord, this position being more exalted than Lord Brahma, a position higher than Lord Brahma, how could this be? And so, so the Lord normally won't award a pure devotee any type of material opulence. Okay. And we have to be careful not to go to the Lord with these types of, requests. I know from my Guru Maharaj, it is very, very hard to please the Lord, okay, to go directly to Krishna and to say, oh, can you grant me this and this? We're not supposed to do that, but we can talk to different pure souls of the Lord, incarnations of the Lord. Lord Nrsimhadev, for instance, would be someone I would pray to for protection against demoniac personalities, for instance. That kind of thing, to keep me safe in my Krishna consciousness, okay? And not to let people harm me, okay? And this kind of thing. And also, prayers, we can also think of prayers to Lord Chaitanya and Lord Nityananda. We can pray for service. We can also pray for mercy from Lord Chaitanya to give us mercy in certain situations. But here in this case, Dhruva Maharaj's case was different, okay? He knew that Dhruva was a great devotee, even though he had material opulence. But again, he knew he would never deviates from love of God. And so, so it is, Dhruva Maharaj's case is just a little different from our case, okay? First of all, well, like I said, that's not something that we normally would do. I'm sure, some people may do this kind of thing. It's very interesting to me. I didn't realize that there are, our guru was talking about it this morning. It's just a slight deviation for just a moment. He's saying there are devotees that they don't chant their 16 rounds. They'll do everything else. They love Krishna. They associate with devotees, but they don't chant the 16 rounds. They have no taste for chanting whatsoever. And so, there are different types of devotees, and we, in general, we should be aspiring to have service. If we're going to speak to Krishna directly about anything, it's only to ask for service. How can I serve you, Lord? How can I better serve you? This type of thing. Otherwise, we go to, I go to my spiritual master, and I go to the grandfather of our movement, Srila Prabhupada, with a majority of prayers when things become very difficult. And so in the next, the text 20 and 21, this is when the Lord tells Dhruva Maharaj that he's going to award him a planet, which is called the Pole Star. Now, why is this planet such a big deal? Why would, it is because even after the dissolution of this material existence, that star, that pole star, will still be existing. And it's important because no one else has ruled that planet. And it also existed, well, anyway, it has no predominating deity. And this pole star is called Dhruvaloka. And it's interesting, in Vedic cosmology, it is the center for all the other stars and solar systems. And they circle around Dhruvaloka. Like, and I would, well, Prabhupada talks about a bull crushing grains by walking around a central pole. It reminds me of these donkeys in Morocco. They go around and around and around in a circle, and they crush the olives to make olive oil. And that's what this reminds me of. And so the Lord, even though Dhruva was not asking, he was not being realistic. I mean, it was childish for him to ask for something like this. Oh, I want a kingdom even bigger and better than Lord Brahma, But the Lord was so affectionate toward him that he awarded him, or he satisfied his demand. And we have to remember, why did he do this? Prabhupada talks about, a father, the child wants this thing or that thing, and says, oh, Dad, please, I need to have this thing, whatever it might be. And the father's thinking, oh, brother, I've never given, you know what, I'm going to, just because I love my child, I have affection for my child, I'll give this thing to my child just to please them. So this is kind of the same idea. The pole star, or Dhruvaloka, was offered to Dhruva Maharaj. Okay. And once again, we know that once the universe gets annihilated, the planet will remain, and it will remain during the devastation. I guess there are two devastations. One is during the night of Lord Brahma, and the other, or let's say the dissolution, is at the end of Lord Brahma's life. And at the end of Lord Brahma's life, we know that certain personalities will go back to Godhead, okay? And Dhruva Maharaj was one of them. And so the Lord assured Dhruva, look, you're going to exist beyond that partial dissolution of the universe. Now, wow, what a thing to award such a young child. At the end of the complete dissolution, Dhruva Maharaj would go back to Vaikuntha Loka. And it is, as we know, we have Vaikuntha Loka, and then which is a spiritual planet in the spiritual sky. And then we, of course, have Krishna Loka, which is I guess, above Vaikuntha Loka. But it is still within the spiritual world. And Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, he likens the Vaikuntha Lokas to something like Spetadvip, Mathura, and Dwarka. Okay, they're eternal places in the kingdom of Godhead. And of course, these places exist on earth too, or they exist in the material world. Okay, and they are transcendental to the planets inhabited after the dissolution. So the Vaikuntha planets will exist after the dissolution. That's, the spiritual world, and the Lord himself guaranteed Dhruva Maharaj that he was going to go back home, back to Godhead. Wow, that's pretty powerful. And then he starts to, he tells Dhruva that, when your father goes to the forest and lets you rule his kingdom, he's going to rule continuously for 36,000 years. And this was in the Satya Yuga. In the Satya Yuga, people lived for thousands and thousands of years. Some could live for 100,000 years. And so it doesn't seem far-fetched when we know how long people lived in that yuga to see that Dhruva Maharaj was going to have 36,000 years of rule. That's pretty amazing. And then this next purport is talking about the problem that Dhruva Maharaj had with his stepmother, Suruchi. In the very beginnings, when we were reading about the very beginning about Dhruva Maharaj, he talked about his stepmother and that she offended him. Okay, but the Lord told him, look, your brother Uttama is going to go hunting in the forest and he's going to be killed. Okay, while he's hunting. And his stepmother, Suruchi, okay, she's going to go crazy because her real son that she bore, he's going to die, and she'll be so crazy that she's going to go looking for him all over, and he's going to be devoured by the forest. She'll be devoured by the forest fire. So the Lord told Dhruva Maharaj this because he had a very vengeful spirit against his stepmother. And he wanted to assure Dhruva that, look, okay, you were insulted, but, she's going to die, okay? She is going to be devoured by this forest fire. And the way it's written here, I'm not positive, but okay, please mute your phone if you join, please. Thank you. Now, Suruchi offended Dhruva Maharaj, but she didn't realize, she insulted him, and he was a great Vaishnava, and she didn't realize that he was who he really was. Okay. And she figured, well, he's just a child and he'll forget this. But she didn't know how, just how exalted he was. And so you're going to get, if we, this is really goes to us in the end, if we insult a Vaishnava, we have to be very, very careful, because we have to suffer the result of that. We have to suffer a karmic reaction for that. Whether, this is the thing I didn't know, whether you know it or you don't know it, whether you knowingly or unknowingly insult a Vaishnava, you suffer a karmic reaction, because the Lord favors his devotees. And so if you hurt a Vaishnava, this affects the Lord, okay? And if you please a Vaishnava, this also has a very good result for the devotee who is, and we have to realize, not only devotees, but we should not insult anybody else, knowingly, unknowingly. We should not insult anyone unnecessarily, okay? Because we will suffer consequences for that. And so, so this, the child, Dhruva Maharaj, was insulted by his stepmother, yet, and I think the Lord here was trying to say, look, no need to feel this kind of revenge or revengeful spirit, because she's going to suffer for what she did anyway. And to me, it's very important for me to know that, like, let's say someone insults me in our life, in my lifetime, for years I would carry these resentments, and I wouldn't let it go, and I would have I would be very angry. I didn't really do anything to anybody about it, but I carried a lot of anger and resentment, which was just as bad as being revengeful, okay? Because it hurt me and the other person. And I think what I'm learning from this is that those people who perform these acts, these insulting acts, whether they realize it or not, they have to suffer the consequences of that. Okay, so I'm going to believe and I do believe this. I do believe when the Lord says this, that there is a reaction, it's definitely going to happen. I've seen it within this lifetime with people who've committed horrible acts upon another. They weren't devotees, but just mistreating other people very badly. They are suffering a karmic reaction. And I'm talking now, obviously, we know there are all kinds of reactions that we're seeing right now from the COVID, with the COVID and everything. But I'm talking about insulting another, and this is a little different, insulting another person, even if you didn't even know it. If the person ends up feeling hurt, then there's a reaction to that. I'm not quite sure how that works out, but there's some kind of a reaction. It might not be horrible, but through prayer and chanting and forgiveness and asking for forgiveness, telling the person, I'm sorry, I had no awareness that this was hurtful to you. I will try better next time. And sometimes, due to our conditioning, sometimes we can't change certain behaviors. It takes, Krishna's mercy for that to happen. But Yeah, so and that's all I wanted to say on that. And also, if we, the last thing that it mentions is that, look, if we please our spiritual master, who is a pure Vaishnava, then we're pleasing the Lord. And if we displease the spiritual master, one does not know where he's going. What are we going to do if we displease the spiritual master, who's as good as the Lord? So I think this is, for me, as I'm reading it, it was a big alert as to, I think the Lord's saying, you know, don't be vengeful or revengeful. These things, whatever this person has done, this person will have to suffer those consequences. So I think that's all I wanted to say for today. There's so much in here. I'm going to leave it open for people to comment further or correct me or however you feel. Okay? Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Mataji. Thank you so much for the excellent class. It's always very, very nice to hear from you. Actually, the points of this purport, they're very important for a devotee, but at the same time, I feel like we need a lot of maturity to be able to really act in such a way that we do not offend devotees, because like sometimes our intentions might be right, but if the action that is attached with the intention is not proper, then we end up really hurting devotees. Actually, just 2-3 days ago, my husband was talking about this, and then he was saying how, like, sometimes we so sincerely and then we do things with the right intention and we want everybody to be pleased, and everything kind of seems like we are doing right. And then eventually, when the result comes, we get a completely opposite reaction, like we've ended up hurting everybody and something that we had never thought about. So, I mean, it is actually possible also that, you know, because of some karma or some lesson we have to learn, you know, we have to go through situations like that as well. Actually, it reminded me of a past time. I don't remember whether it is Sanatan Goswami, Rupa Goswami, or Jiva Goswami, one of those two, whether it's Sanatan Goswami or Rupa Goswami. They were sitting and they were actually meditating on the Lord in trance. So they're actually sitting on a ledge kind of or a step. And while in meditation, they're actually seeing something that makes them laugh. So he smiles and then kind of jumps into laughter. And at the same time, when he's laughing, there is this Brahmana who's passing by. And the Brahmana, unknowingly, he thinks that, oh, he's laughing at me. And the Brahmana gets offended. And as the Brahmana gets offended, the ecstasy that the Goswami is in breaks. And then he's not able to enter the pastime again. So here, like one of the two, Rupa Goswami or Sanatan Goswami, they start to think that why am I not able to get back to the pastime again? Because for them, Krishna they're so close to Krishna, and Krishna is residing in their hearts. He gets this inspiration that says that somebody must have been offended, because of which I'm not able to go back to the pastime. So then he actually meditates again, and then he gets to know that the Brahmana who's passing by actually has got offended. So he goes to the Brahmana and then he asks for forgiveness. That although it was not his mistake, the Brahmana was offended in this case. He was just sitting in his trance, and then he was just doing his own meditation in his pastime. And the Brahmana was offended. So like these examples, like something that we have to learn is that, especially for me, that how important humility is, that even if it's not our mistake, it is actually important to not offend a devotee that takes a higher position than our own satisfaction or our own ego or whatever, or even the fact that I'm right. Sometimes Krishna might not be happy because it brings pride in our heart. So Krishna might just put us in situations where we just have to accept that respecting a senior Vaishnava, respecting a Brahmana, respecting any devotee of Krishna is much higher principle than actually us being right as well. Like even if we see Krishna does the same thing, like to protect his devotees, to please his devotees, sometimes he does things which are not appropriate, or he might like choose to not keep his own vow. Like in Kurukshetra, he said he won't fight, but then he actually fought because he wants to please Arjuna, he wants to protect Arjuna. So there are many instances like that, and from today's class, that's what I'm learning, is that how important it is to actually keep this principle, that pleasing a Vaishnava is what is pleasing to Krishna, despite what the other dynamics, whatever that might be, whether we are right, we are wrong, or whatever that could be. But just begging for their forgiveness, just like you were sharing, is what is beneficial for our devotional service. So that's what I wanted to share, Mataji. Thank you again. It takes a lot of time actually to come to that position of maturity. So thank you again for all the nice points, Mataji. Thank you.
Thank you. I feel blessed in a way because Krishna has given me a person in my life for the past 40 something years who has been very, very difficult. And you know what? I always in the past would get, how can I say, if she was my stepmother, once again, this is like a very good example for me. She would insult all the time, insult me and just constantly. And I was, my heart, I felt like she was stabbing me every time for years and years. And I, finally come to this realization, just don't, just forgive her, because this is who she is. And this is the way she is. And she doesn't know any other way. So I don't need to take revenge, because I would get so angry, I would just walk away. I wouldn't speak to her, and it got horrible. But I think, I have to be cautious. Obviously, I don't want to get stepped on like a bug. But by the same token, I'm not ready to retaliate anymore. I don't want to retaliate. I just want to please Krishna, however he wants me to deal with this relationship, because it's a very, whatever it is, it's not an easy one. And it's similar, it reminds me, in Dhruva Maharaj, here he was only 5 years old, but I've been dealing with this person for years and years, decades. And you know what? I'm finally seeing that, just let it go. Just let it go, and don't hold the resentment, and don't hold the grudge. And it's taken me a long, long time to be able to do this. And I still, there are moments when I think, oh my gosh, how am I going to do this? I just don't know. But that if I ask for protection from Lord Nrsingadev, Nrsimhadev, he protects me. and I'm able to be decent to this person, even though she can't be nice to me. I mean, I'm not saying she doesn't have any nice qualities. She has some nice qualities. Obviously, she comes from Krishna. But those offenses, it's not up to me. That's the other part. It's not up to me to take revenge for that person's anarthas and offenses. It's not up to me. It's up to Krishna to take care of those things. And when I see it that way, I'm able to handle it, because I know, especially after reading this last purport, people will. It's the law of the universe. People, when they're doing these things, they receive a reaction. It's not up to me to do anything about it. I just have to keep doing what I'm supposed to do. And you're right, it does take a lot of maturity. Sometimes I slip up, but I think with the chanting of the holy name and with a lot of prayer, I can come to levels of forgiveness. You know, and she never asked for it, but believe me, she doesn't even think she did anything wrong. That's the worst part about it, but that's okay. I had a lesson here. Krishna gives us, in a way, it's mercy to have to deal with somebody like this for so many years. I'm sure I did something in my previous life where I have to work through this. It's very clear to me. So this is a big lesson. And this is not a Vaishnava, you know. With a Vaishnava, I have to even be more careful. Would anybody else like to comment? We have just a few more. Yeah. Manasi Ganga?
Yeah,
Thank you,
I was
Mataji, for the
just,
very nice class.
go ahead, Latanya.
No, Mataji, just I want to just thank you. Thank Guru Govardhanila Mataji. You go
Thank
ahead,
you.
Mataji. Thank you.
Yeah, so Govardhan Leela, thank you for sharing and talking, what's in your heart. It seems like from an observer point of view that like you are coming to a point where the lesson that was meant to be learned, you're learning, you're getting it now, in that your reaction is, like you said, forgiveness, and so it's so nice to hear that. We hear that, I've heard from non-devotees as well, say something very similar, like don't don't kill the messenger. My ex used to say all the time, he who brings bad news, don't kill the messenger. In other words, like, we're all, and we've heard Gurudev so many times tell us that, like, we're all in the positions that we are so that we can learn. There's no mistake wherever we're at. There's no mistake. And, the things that are coming at us are lessons to be learned. And by having that humility that you're speaking of, it seems, from what you're saying, that you're getting, whatever it is that Krishna is trying to teach you. And it's so nice to hear that. Yeah, and I think that, like, this whole humility piece, I was thinking of it, as
as Prema Rasa was talking, and actually when you were doing the reading as well, it's kind of like when we have humility, we don't focus on ourselves. We're actually focusing on the other person. It's like one has like subjugated oneself as not as important to focus like during a situation. So, you know, we hear in Lord Chaitanya, Chaitanya Charitamrita, that this is Krishna himself, Lord Chaitanya. And he gets up and gives his seat to someone else. And he goes and, you know, like the better seat, and he goes over to an area that's not clean. It's just that whole, you know, this whole humility is learning how to like see through the eyes actually of the other person. And I believe that, you know, with your stepmother, I mean, just to understand that, you know, she's just reacting to all her experiences in this life and previous lives and dealing with it probably as best as she can. You know, not having training, not having followed, you know, Srila Prabhupada, she's doing the best that she can. And so, I mean, you know, for you to like look through her eyes and try to understand her perspective. That's not to say that what she's doing is right, but it is to say that she's also in that position trying to learn as well. And I think that, you know, if we all have that perspective, and you know, some days it's easier than others. You know, for myself, like so many times I react to, you know, things that my children say or something like that. But when I reflect back on it, like if I can try to put myself, you know, it's that whole empathy piece as well. You know, if I can put myself in the position of the person that's, you know, that's speaking to me in a way that I don't feel is respectful, you know, or whatever. I mean, it's trying to understand where they're coming from, and I think that helps me, or helps humble me to try to be understanding where they're coming from, and you know, not putting myself first and foremost. So, you know, but like you said, and like I'm saying, you know, some days it's easy and some days it's not. It's all, you know, we're all in our naivety and trying to you know, gain the tools that we need and the ability to do so. But those are just my observations, and Hare Krishna. Thank you.
Hare Krishna. Thank you very much for all your comments from Manasi Ganga and from Lavanya Mataji. I meant to say from Prema Rasa Mataji and from Lavanya Mataji. And I just appreciate all of you being here for me today. So I think it's 3 minutes after 6. So I think we should end, unless anybody has a last comment. Okay, then we'll resume tomorrow. Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Hare Krishna.